Sissy's Taco Bar Pop-Up is back with more hours and more days. Check them out at their new pop-up location at The Woodlawn, located 1200 East 79th Street. Sissy's Taco Bar offers authentic street tacos infused with international soul. Now every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at The Woodlawn from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. New vegan tacos have been added to the menu too. Visit sissytacobar.com for more info.
Introducing your trusted source for high-quality Black emojis, better known as Blackmoji. We believe Black is beautiful, and that beauty should be reflected in the digital market. Now there is an app that does just that, starting with Black Greek letter organizations. Blackmoji D9 offers more than an emoji app. It is a cultural experience of Black excellence. Download the app in the Apple or Google Play Store to access a specially curated catalog of emojis representing the Divine Nine. Use the emojis to celebrate Black Greek events, acknowledge current events, support social causes, and learn about esteemed Black Greek members who blaze the trail of Black history. A portion of every subscription goes toward a scholarship fund specifically for members of Black Greek letter organizations to help keep the legacy alive. Download the Blackmoji app today.
leadership team that she has built. Time at CPS. First as a student, as you heard, then as a STAR teacher, a principal, a district administrator, chief education officer, and finally as CEO. There are not many who can tell this kind of story, having walked in the day at school as a Head Start student and then leaving at the end of June as the CEO of the same district. It's a remarkable, remarkable story and accomplishment. It's this lived experience, as well as Dr. Jackson's emphasis on equity and inclusion, that have and will continue to drive excellence in our school system. Dr. Jackson's tenure illustrates that success isn't the result of one program or one initiative, but instead a holistic approach to education and youth development that ensures every single one of our students receives the rigor, love, and support that they need, regardless of their circumstances or zip code, and regardless of what other challenges may arise. Hold on one second.
You are listening to CEO Janice Jackson stepping down live coverage.
I'm like, what happened?
Just trying to be helpful, Marianne. Now, since I became mayor, Dr. Jackson and I have worked closely together through a number of challenges that have threatened to slow or reverse the progress that we've made to create a world-class school system for our world-class city. One that provides equal opportunities for students, regardless of their race and ethnicity, household income, and zip code, and erases the achievement and graduation gaps between students. By no means has this mission been easy. And as Dr. Jackson would be the first to tell you, our mission on behalf of our students and parents is not yet accomplished. Far from it. And along the way, there have been several events that have intensified and complicated this effort, with the pandemic in particular being among the most challenging that we've experienced in our city, in our school system, perhaps ever. It turned the lives of our students and their families upside down and left our school community scrambling to develop ways to keep our children engaged and learning, all while being safe. In the face of uncertainty, however, Dr. Jackson has been a steady hand. She hasn't hesitated, dug in her heels, and took these challenges head on, making multiple unprecedented multi-million-dollar investments to ensure that our children were able to receive free meals while schools were closed, had laptops and internets to learn from home and at remote learning sites, and has done so to lead the nation in our Chicago Connected program, which is still remarkable and one which is the envy of other school districts across the country. Return to classrooms with air purifiers, high-quality ventilation, and plenty of PPE and hand sanitizer and other mitigation efforts to demonstrate decisively that our schools are safe for learning. She has also made sure that we've had access to the tools that our students need to restore and protect their emotional and social well-being through a healed-centered framework. And the list goes on and on. Throughout every step of the way, Dr. Jackson has never lost sight of her mission to do what's right for our children, expanding enormous amounts of time, energy, and sacrifice.
So we just found out that CPS President Dr. Janice Jackson is resigning. And so we are cutting to the audio of that press conference right now. You're hearing the voice of Mayor Lori Lightfoot at that press conference again. Chicago Public Schools, Dr. Janice Jackson is resigning today. Did y'all see this coming? A little bit.
Coming, but next year is going to be very problematic for CPS, and it probably is a smart move for.
Get out the way of that train coming.
It's a train coming.
Let's listen to it.
We still have hard work ahead of us to restore some semblance of normalcy for the lives of our children and their families. Dr. Jackson has proven herself to be more than capable of leading CPS with grace, determination, will, and laser focus on bettering the lives of our students long before a pandemic had ever hit our city. And truthfully, her high-heeled shoes will not be easy to fill. But in a city like Chicago, with all of the talent inside and outside of CPS, from building principals and teachers to administrators, education experts, and funders, and of course, our incredible students and parents, we offer a wealth of assets and opportunities for the next CEO and leadership team. I am personally energized and ready to roll up my sleeves to set the next CEO and leadership team up for success. There are extraordinary and talented education leaders in Chicago and across the country. And the CPS diaspora alone is deep and talented. So in our nationwide search, we will be drawing upon a deep well of talented, proven leaders. And I am confident that we will find the next great leader for CPS. To aid this process, we have retained a top-notch search firm. And we will be soliciting input from a number of stakeholders in a number of different ways. These times demand that we engage in a robust process of taking the pulse of our CPS stakeholders. Of course, our parents and our students and our teachers, principals and other administrators, and of course, our board will have a seat at the table as we develop a process of engagement and, as I said, set the next CEO and the leadership team up for success. All of this engagement will ensure that the next CEO is able to not only handle the responsibilities that come along with it, but also has the relevant experience to make meaningful connections with those in our school community. Today's announcement has undoubtedly prompted a flood of emotions. I know it has for me, and I know it has for Dr. Jackson. But once again, I hope that the predominant sentiment is gratitude for Dr. Jackson's leadership and contributions over the past years of her tenure, not only as CEO, but as a school leader par excellence. And while the end of the school year will mark the end of her tenure as CEO, it is not the end of our mission to bring about transformative change to our public education system. Quite the opposite. We have a number of tough challenges that we must face as a district now and in the next few years. Black and brown student achievement being top of the list. And in my view, new beginnings provide new opportunities. New opportunities to support our students, new opportunities to support our families, and make public school the great equalizer that it is, both during and long after this pandemic is in our rearview mirror. I have spent a lot of time thinking about this day. I've also spent a lot of time thinking about what we need to do and step up as a city to be better and stronger for our young people. We need to build a village around our kids and their families from the earliest possible age. A stronger village that will make sure that our young people have all the supports and resources that they need to be successful in life, however they choose to define that. And CPS, of course, must be at the center of this village life. Our commitment to the transformation needed in this moment is organized around three themes: restore, recommit, and reimagine. We will restore relationships that have been harmed by a painful legacy that includes closing 50 of our schools in a way that, in my view, disregarded and disempowered parents' voices, devastated our Black and brown communities in many instances, and disrupted student trajectory. We have not healed from that experience, and we must do more to bring our communities together in unity and a sense of purpose on what is best for them and their students and families. We will recommit to our mission of giving our children access to a high-quality public as early as possible in their lives. When I talk about building a village, I mean from birth till the time they hit the schoolhouse door. We must do better and must do more. And again, CPS will play a valuable role in that process, but so will other city agencies and not-for-profits and other people in the CPS ecosystem. We have an opportunity to set a new course for our children and for our city, and we will do just that. And we will reimagine what education means for us, especially those who are Black and brown and have special needs. By taking lessons learned and the tools and strategies used during the past year to increase equity and access in ways that enable all students, especially those hardest hit by the pandemic, to achieve and grow both during and out of school. We live in a world-class city. We must make sure that we have a world-class public education system that is worthy of our children, that is worthy of our families, and make sure that they have the same access to resources so they can truly reach their God-given potential. I feel passionately about these things, as I hope you can tell. It stems from who I am, how I grew up, and what public education meant to me. I would not be standing here today without the kind of supports that I received as a public school student, without my village supporting me. I want our children to have the same things that...
Again, we were just listening to the press conference of the resignation of Chicago Public Schools CEO Dr. Janice Jackson. She is stepping down in June. That announcement comes as a bit of a surprise to some and perhaps not so surprising to others, but that was the press conference that we were just listening to. We will continue to monitor that and see what is said, not only by Mayor Lightfoot, but also by CEO Dr. Janice Jackson. We're going to take a quick break because we have a guest coming up, and our guest is here. And so when we come back from this quick break, we'll have Dr. Darden will be joining us. We'll have that conversation on the other side of this break. This is I Said What I Said. We just cut from the live press conference of Mayor Lori Lightfoot announcing the resignation of Chicago Public Schools CEO Dr. Janice Jackson. We'll have that conversation on the other side of this break. This is I Said What I Said, Herb and 2 till 3. We'll be right back.
Reach the ruler. This is Week Hoe Wednesday, and to my right is Everybody's Women Crush Wednesday. My co-host, the one and only Toy. It goes, love this show, y'all. I'm dealing with a guy. We have been dating for 9 months. In light of everything going on in the world, he has been voicing his opinion about situations, and I don't agree with any of his views. I love everything else except his opinions.
Damn.
How do I fix this? FYI, he's white.
It's about to be a white boy summer.
So could that be the issue?
For sure. Just come out different when it's not coming from your own race. It's just never been something I'd be like, oh, I date Bill.
I'm just a Bill. Yes, I'm only a Bill.
I don't really like light-skinned guys. I don't like pink meat.
Pink, so like it's like you see it.
Pink tip, it be pink.
And then pink on the tip.
I don't like
so sometimes a light-skinned guy have a dark tooth.
And then it look dark, so it's nasty off to me. I feel like it's supposed to be pink because they light-skinned. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want it to be dark because then I'm going to say you dirty.
Shop at Black-owned and operated Solo Beauty, where you are appreciated and respected. Located at 8158 South Cottage Grove, Solo Beauty can supply all of your Black hair care needs. Solo Beauty is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., Tuesday through Saturday. Since 2018, nearly 3,000 tax credit scholarships have been awarded to Black students in Illinois to attend private schools that best fit their needs. Now, Governor Pritzker wants to slash this program. In a time of much uncertainty, we need greater equity in education for our families and children, not less. Call your state representative and senator and urge them to stand up for our kids and their future by supporting the tax credit scholarship program. For more information, visit empoweredillinois.org.
Welcome back, family. We are live from inside the What's in It for the Black People Media Studios alongside Tucson Warner. My name is Herb Howard. This is I Said What I Said. Thank y'all so very, very much for being here with us on a Monday afternoon. We appreciate you all and for being flexible as we had a bit of an unusual start to the show as we were finding out about Dr. Jackson's resignation and then trying to decide the best way to bring it to you on the air. So I appreciate you all for sticking with us through that piece. But I hope you all are well wherever you find yourself. Shout out to everybody that is watching on Facebook and everybody that is watching on YouTube as well. Tucson, you've been wanting to have this conversation for a bit of a minute. You want to introduce our guests?
Yeah, today we're being joined by the brother Cornell Darden, President and Chief Executive of the Southland Black Chamber of Commerce. Last week we had a bit of an uproar in regards to politics when Senator Tim Scott said that America is not a racist country, and
it ain't.
You know, hey, well, we can always have that conversation. Brother Cornell Darden is, like I said, President and Chief Executive of the Southland Community Black Chamber of Commerce, and he's also a Republican. So I thought that would be an interesting conversation to have, and we could get into some of what the Black Chamber of Commerce is doing, you know, in the South suburbs. So welcome, Brother Darden, to the show. How you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm great today, guys. Thank you, Mr. Warner and Mr. Howard, for having me on.
It's an absolute pleasure. We appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule. So let's get right into it. When you hear a comment like the ones that were made by Tim Scott, do you agree? Do you disagree?
I thought those comments were bad taste made by Senator Scott and also by Vice President Kamala Harris to get on TV and say that America is not a racist country. A statement like that involves a lot of context. And it's a complex question, so it deserves a complex answer. And a direct answer like that was uncalled for.
Is it complex? I mean,
I feel you.
Is it complex?
No, I think it's pretty simple. I think yes, it is a racist country. I think that the racial constructs have been in place since the inception of the American experiment, and I think that have been vastly unchanged over the course of the history of this nation. And I think that you continue to see those things play out in every aspect of our society, whether you're talking about education, healthcare, finances, justice, whatever it is, we continue to see those disparities play out in a very, very racist fashion. So I have no hesitation in saying that.
I'd love to get in it a little deeper with brother Darden. Brother Darden, tell us a little more about what the Black Chamber does.
We're an organization that looks to make the business environment better for Black businesses throughout the Southland. So whether that's advocating for legislation, creating a networking environment in which Black business owners can meet with each other and share business ideas and do business with each other.
Yeah, I specifically asked that question on purpose, getting back to the Tim Scott thing, right? Yeah. In regards to what are like the borders of the Southland and what percentages of businesses in the Southland are Black businesses?
As far as the percentage, I don't have that direct number. If I had to just throw one off just based on the fact that I'm doing this every day and I'm out here, I would say 2%.
2%.
And
sound about right.
Yeah, I would say 2% or less. But our area covers the south side of Chicago, all of southern Cook County, Will County, Grundy County, Kankakee County, and northwest Indiana.
Now, let's think about that for a second. We just said all of South Chicago, Will County, Kankakee, we're all the way to Indiana, right? 2%, and it's a guesstimate, right? It's not a factual number.
Sure.
Right? But the Cook County is the mecca of Black folks, right? Cook County has the largest population in the Americas of American descendants of slaves.
Not only the population, but the positions of leadership are Black in Cook County.
Yeah, that's very interesting that we can only garner 2% of business ownership in the entirety of the Southland. It spans from South Side to Indiana.
And south to Kankakee. You know what I mean? I was surprised to find out how much Black leadership there is in the Southland. To be honest with you, Dr. Darden, I used to host a show called the Southland Report, and the show was completely about what was going on in the Southland. And so I've developed some pretty good relationships with many of the mayors and elected officials from the Southland. And I was kind of surprised to find out how much Black representation there is in leadership in the Southland. And I guess I'm kind of saying that I was surprised because it doesn't it doesn't always feel that way. You know what I mean? Like the further south you go, it doesn't always feel like this is a place of so much black leadership. And I know that there have been a lot of strides that have been made and a lot of efforts that have been put into place by a lot of people. But what do you think has held up some of the actual production and the results in terms of getting those spaces to look and feel as black as they are in representation?
Well, the area does have more black elected officials than anywhere else in the country. So it is a black mecca, like Mr. Warner just mentioned. I would say that it's been a, what they call it, growing pains, because many of these towns, believe it or not, have been overwhelmingly black for a long time, but they haven't had black representation. And sometimes the, first couple black representatives or elected officials who get elected don't always have the community's interests at heart. So, we've had to go through some of those struggles, but I see a bright future looking forward. And, this last consolidated election, a lot of good people did get in office in the Southland. So I'm pretty excited about where we're going moving forward as far as economic.
I just heard today that Madison just elected his first black mayor, and they was being sworn in today.
Madison.
Madison? That's how
Madison.
No. Yeah, not Matchison. I know Calumet City just elected its
Cal
first
City.
black
I'm
mayor.
sorry. Yeah, you're right. Cal City. My bad, brother. You absolutely right.
No, the mayor of Madison is a black woman.
It's not Madison?
It's Madison, and she will always correct you if you say Madison.
Oh, okay. Bless her heart.
Yeah, I always find that funny too. So they got me out here saying Matchison now.
Right.
Matheson.
She came.
Nobody in Matheson knows it's Matheson. They say Matheson too.
It's Matheson. I said, huh?
It's Matheson.
But no, Matchison is definitely a very unique place in the country. I call Lincoln Highway over there on Route 30 Black Wall Street. We got a number of
Why
black
would you call it Black Wall Street?
Because of the number of black businesses in a condensed area and the potential for more. And like we were talking about before with black leadership and power, being able to cultivate that area. So I would definitely consider Route 30 Black Wall Street.
That's interesting, man. Whenever I go out that way, and this is not to shun what's happening out there because I just might be ignorant, but it seems as if all of the South suburban communities are dying to me when I drive out there. And maybe it's just because I don't spend enough time and I don't know where the stuff is happening at, but all of the industry that I once knew is going away. When you think about the River Oaks, I went to River Oaks for the first time in like 15 years.
It's like 3 stores in River Oaks now.
It's nothing operable. The other school out there the other school.
Talking about like Lincoln Mall?
Lincoln Mall. That's
that one's been barren for a long time.
The concept of mall is dying, right?
Yeah.
But in my opinion, those communities were built around those structures.
Agreed.
So I was wondering what happens with industry when those places leave. Can you help us with that, brother?
Yeah.
Where are we going? Where are we moving? What direction are we going in?
I think malls in general are dying. I think, malls started to go down during the 90s, and it's been exasperated throughout the last 5 or 6 years or so with the economy boom and things like that. So we have to rethink what we're going to do with malls. River Oaks and Lincoln Mall, anyone trying to revitalize that may want to, think twice about it because there's probably some better uses for those type of spaces.
How could you go about repurposing those spaces, and what ideas would you consider like turning them into?
Well, in Madison specifically, I would love to see a nice convention center over there in the where the old Lincoln Mall was. I know there's been talks of a casino, although I don't think a casino is a good idea for economic development. I mean, a casino has its perks, but it definitely doesn't bring economic development to any area. But a convention center, I think, is huge. We need to play on our culture, and we need to have more opportunities to, live out our culture, more comedy shows and things like that. So a concert venue would be awesome in that space. Also repurposing it for shopping. The indoor mall format doesn't quite work as well as it used to, but there's a lot of different formats like outdoor outlet malls, things like that could work.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Man, I once heard that black folks are a contagion to wealth. Right? And I guess it gets back to the Tim Scott statement about, America not being racist.
Yeah.
But when you look at when you look at what do they call it, like city design, or like even the design of the suburbs, right? There's a lifespan of like 40 years for those communities that they're supposed to last for 40 years.
Okay.
And then the industry shifts and goes somewhere different. And the idea is that the initial settlers in those places have raised their children, be kind of in their retirement stages, and the next population, i.e. their kids,
start over, right,
will be going somewhere completely different, and they'll build industry there. Then the kids gravitate to there. Sure. But it's like all of those communities that kind of get left behind, that concept of repurposing becomes imminent.
Yeah.
But going back to the construct of us being a contagion of wealth, I hear the brother clearly about the convention center. I hear the concept about the comedy shows. But then you think about our own personal behaviors. When we hang out, where do we hang out at? You understand what I'm saying? When we convene, where do we convene at? We got a lake that spans the whole length of the city.
Yeah.
But we don't leverage it, but we'll fly to Miami to get on their lake. So, i.e., we even kind of respond to that kind of contagious behavior. Like, we don't want to be where we are.
Yeah, I think that we got to, kind of start to think outside of the box with different places, right? And so another one of the challenges to the Southland specifically in terms of industry and those types of things is the fact that a lot of those towns, especially, on the east end of it, is in such close proximity to Indiana. And then you got to deal with, the different taxes and things like that. And so if I have a business or I want to open a business, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for me to open it in like Linwood or something like that when I can go 2 miles that way and the taxes are different. You know what I mean? And so that's one of the challenges that they have with that industry. But just thinking outside of the box, what they do have, and Dr. Darden, I was talking to Mayor Williams from Linwood about this before. They have that sports complex out there. I forget what it's called, but they got that huge sports complex out there where they have, these national tournaments all the time, and these different teams are always coming in. But it doesn't seem like they've found a way to use that as a feeder for different industries like hotels or restaurants and things like that. It seems like they should surround that type of place with a lot of different hotels and restaurants because it brings in so many people from so many places, all throughout the year. I think if we start thinking outside the box a little bit, then we can find some ways to utilize those opportunities or take advantage of some of those opportunities.
Yeah, I'm actually very familiar with Linwood. The village of Linwood is a member of the Southland Black Chamber, and I'm very familiar with some of the things that Mayor Williams wanted to do in Linwood surrounding that sports complex. I think, you mentioned earlier that, some of us have an aversion to wealth and building wealth. We got a sports complex with a number of individuals coming out there on a regular basis. We got something we can look at. We can count the traffic. Hey, I mean, there's nothing to say that you or I couldn't, build a hotel in that area.
Right.
We can't wait for some magical white person with a bunch of money to come and do it and say, hey, why aren't you investing in our community? We need to do it ourselves.
That's interesting you say that. When I was introduced to you through the homie Christy, man, she specifically pointed out that you're a Republican. Break that down to me, man. Why Republican?
I've been a Republican my whole life. I grew up in Robbins, Illinois, in the new projects off 135th and Kedzie or Woodline. I believe in the values of Republican forms of government. I believe that a Republican form of government protects the individual and stops us from being under the tyranny of a slight majority. So when it comes to Republican politics outside of the Republican Party, I believe that America is a republic, and that's what makes it the greatest country in the world. And anytime you have a republic, you're going to have to fight to keep it, because you're going to always have a slight majority who is going to try to overrule the other 49%. We've seen the same thing in Rome when the Roman Republic fell.
When you talk about like some of these conservative,
I'm not a conservative. Let me make that clear.
Okay. How do you strike that balance between having liberal ideas but identifying as a Republican? And just for the record, while we're having this conversation, I'm not on either team. You know what I'm saying? Like, tell me what we're arguing about, and then I'll tell you whose side I'm on. Right? That's my stance on political parties. But how do you strike the balance between being a liberal or liberal leaning or whatever, however you would define yourself, but also being a Republican?
I wouldn't describe myself as a liberal. I'm pretty moderate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm for policy driven issues that helps everyone to prosper. I'm a capitalist, definitely, wholeheartedly. But when it comes to conservatism, especially the brand of conservatism that I have now, I don't think it's good for Black people whatsoever. And I've looked conservatism in the face, and there's some ugly things there. The one good thing about conservatism is that who doesn't think it's a good idea to conserve? Whether you conserve your energy, whether you conserve your money, things like that, right? But the problem is that, sometimes conservatism can be a block into progressing and moving forward and making things better, because conservatives always want to keep things the same. And in our country, if keeping things the same means what is, the pure definition of it, it means to keep Black people in an inferior position.
Period.
Yeah, I hear that. But when we traditionally look at and again, right, and I'm not knocking the construct of the Republican Party, because I'm with her, right? I'm kind of independent in regards to the concept. But when we look at least recent history, the Republican Party is kind of conservative in regard to maintaining white supremacy and white racism, even in regards to how wealth is shifted and wealth is built. We just got the COVID bill passed or whatever.
Sure.
Or we look at the PPP loan and the breakdowns and where that money goes.
Sure.
It's still very conservative and very white centered. So I'm intrigued with the Republican concept, specifically around Black folks, because I do think we need to shift in how we look at politics, right? In order to threaten the Democratic Party or force the hand of the Democratic Party, we have to be fluid, right? Because if they can guarantee that we're on their team, they don't have to serve us with anything.
And they never have.
Right? But it's also such a difficult decision to make, because the Republican Party stands so staunchly on, we don't really rock with you Negroes. You know what I mean? And it becomes a very delicate line to walk. I get it conceptually. In theory, it makes sense. But in regards to action, it would be very difficult for me to go into any polling place and push the button for a Republican, because traditionally, it's not in our best interest.
Dr. Darden?
We got him still?
I think so. Dr. Darden, you there? Maybe we lost him. I can see I feel like I see him, but maybe that's just a frozen photo.
Yeah,
we'll try to get Dr. Darden back on. But I feel you on that piece, right? When you talk about this idea of, okay, how do I hold the Democratic Party accountable to our issues, right? And how do I appear threatening to them to say, like, no, I don't gotta rock with y'all. I could go this way, but it's like, oh, you see what's going on over there? I don't really want to go over there. You know what I'm saying?
It's a difficult decision to make.
Yeah.
It puts you in kind of a catch-22. And I'm so with you on the independent construct. Like, I'm not with you or you.
Yeah.
I'm with us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And how does that benefit us?
What's in it for the Black people, Phil?
What's in it for the Black people? When I think about it from the vantage point of, let's say, how the Tea Party moved the Republican Party. And to be quite honest with you, let's keep it a buck. Right? There is no, in my opinion again, right? There's the right, there's the far right, and there's the middle right. There is no liberal out here. I think they've shifted the Republican value set so far right that the middle lines up what would have been, mid-right 20 years ago.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So this idea of this liberal logic out here is mythical to me.
Yeah, but because it's not an everyday practice, right? And so when you have these liberal conversations or these liberal ideas, they tend to come from, we got Dr. Darden back in here, they tend to come from places of extreme circumstances, right? Whether you talk about like gay marriage or stuff like that, then that's
it don't matter.
That's right. That's a liberal progressive thought, but it's not like it's in practice on some everyday life type of stuff where it's impacting things that matter.
We got Mitch McConnell right now threatening to ban funding for any school that's willing to teach about what do they call it? Black race theory, black critical race theory. Those kind of concepts in my mind is like, oh shit.
Yeah.
How do you rock with that? You know what I mean?
It's different, man. You got the latest textbooks referring to slaves as immigrant workers and all kind of crazy stuff, man. Let me watch my mouth here while we got Dr. Darden on the line. Dr. Darden, I see we got you back, man. Appreciate you popping back in.
Yes, sir.
Indeed. So before we lost you there, too was saying, As black people, we've been blindly loyal to the Democratic Party as a whole for a very long time. And while we need to be, threatening to the Democratic Party to say, hey, we don't got to rock with y'all. We could go over here and rock with the Republicans. But then when you kind of look at it, it's like, yeah, but they don't rock with us. How do you feel like the Republican Party as a collective views or serves the black community?
I don't necessarily think it's the party that serves the black community, whether it's the Democrat Party or the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. I think it's us looking out for our interests. So, when it comes to black issues, that knows no party, right? When we talk about minority participation in contracting and us, getting some of our tax money back in those contracts, that's not a Republican or a Democrat issue. And I think that the mistake that we make is that we allow politicians in either party to use us as an issue when they see fit. The Democrat Party does a great job at that. But no, I mean, black is black, right? And that's why it's such a struggle, because it's like we all have to be one thing. We have to stick together in this struggle against racism. So if we're going to be Republican, we're going to all have to become Republican. And that's why so many of us attack black Republicans so much, because, we can't split our vote. Because, that's seen as, splitting our effort to, stop racism or fend off racism. So we did want to have to be all Democrat or all Republican. It doesn't matter.
I think it's going to be so hard to get us all, on one accord like that, right? To decide, okay, we all going this way, we all going that way. I think that for a litany of reasons, mainly slavery, we don't have that singular identity or sense of connectivity to each other that allows us to move all in one way like other groups of people do. And I think that is probably the biggest obstacle that we have in terms of how we, one, get on one accord, and then two, actually move as a collective in that manner. I think that would be ideal, but I don't know if we can actually, I don't know how we get to that space.
I think it'd be ideal to have us all on. I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I would definitely argue that we're already there, right? Because 95% of the black vote goes to the Democratic Party, hands down. And before the 1960s, it was going towards the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. We stuck with the Republican Party because of Abraham Lincoln, and, freeing the slaves was a part of the Republican Party platform. Mm-hmm. So we gave the Republican Party 100 years of loyalty just because of that. And, when too many black people move away from that. And then it was pretty much Martin Luther King and Lyndon B. Johnson who pretty much moved us toward the Democratic Party. I mean, it started with Roosevelt in the 40s, but the culmination of that shift was with Martin Luther King and those civil rights bills, because we needed the president to sign off on it. And we've been over here ever since.
Yeah, but I think what the difference is that I think that we was more centered around black identity. So we could talk about Abe or we could talk about King, but really what was bad was happening in our communities, right? So I don't want to be a slave no more. I'm rocking with who's not going to let me be a slave no more. You know what I mean? I want some more access to, America. I'm going to rock with who's saying they're going to give me more access to America. What I think has changed now is that the manipulation has got more intense, right? So now we don't even get nothing out the deal. We just get symbolic gestures.
Shucks and pearls, baby.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that we need to have, I don't agree with you in the construct of you saying that we need all black people to be Republican or all black people to be Democrat. I don't agree with that. I think we need all black people to be understanding of what black identity means. And once we get the fluidity.
I'm not saying that.
Okay, so the fluidity our vote goes with whatever we say we need, just like you said. What's the offer? What's the argument?
We come over here.
We're coming over
I'll come over there.
Yeah.
Right? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we need to all be part of one party. I think that's what the notion is, right? So that's why we are what we are, where Tim Scott, gets on TV and espouses some views from the Republican Party, and we jump down his throat, because we feel like we all need to be on the same side. I definitely don't think we all need to be on the same side. Just like most people in America, you're going to have some people who believe in some liberal values and some who believe in some conservative values, and they're going to choose their parties based on that. But for the majority of black people, I don't think we're choosing our values based on those things. We're choosing our values based on what party we think are going to help us with our black issues.
I think that's interesting, man. I was in the South earlier this year, and we was having a conversation, and it dawned on me that the people I was talking to stopped saying white folks in context of racism and started saying Republicans. That was very, very interesting to me. Right? It was like they had taken racism out of the white context and put it
now just a political discussion
of the Republican Party. And I thought that was very telling. You know what I mean? Just an interesting observation.
Yeah, no, that is an interesting observation.
Right? But I want to be clear, too, though. I'm not jumping down Tim Scott's throat because I want to be a disruptor. Not necessarily a disruptor of the Republican Party, but a disruptor of the system.
Me too.
So after Tim Scott said what he said, so did Biden. Biden doubled down, and then our black vice president doubled down as well. And that's the separation of parties, right? Those are two different parties with two different representations, and they both all said the same thing.
Yeah.
So I again, I'm talking to the people, not the party. Right, because they're all BS in my opinion.
Right.
You know what I mean? So getting back to the Black Chamber of Commerce, being 2% of business in the Southland, where we are the highest representation of black political figures in all of the country, which I didn't even know. That's new information for me.
Yeah, I was surprised when I was learning that out, man. When it's a host of black leadership, and not only the mayors, right, but all kinds of elected officials. And it's like, I didn't even realize that until about last year, for real.
Yeah, it's very intriguing, but it speaks volumes when we only got 2% of the business, though.
Yeah, and when it comes to the type of businesses that we have that would create that 2% number, a lot of those businesses aren't what the average person may think of when they think of a business. We think of a brick and mortar. We think of a warehouse or something like that. A lot of our numbers actually come from people who just created an LLC. It may just be sitting there. They may make $1,000 a year.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So the number actually is reflective number is actually a lot smaller.
So how do we change that, brother? How do we change that? When we look at it, go ahead, I'm listening.
Oh, I was just going to say, well, entrepreneurship is something that's very unique. It's not something that can really be taught. It's something that could, we can help people draw inspiration if they have it in them, and that's what we need to do. We need to inspire more people. We need to, get people more involved in the conversation around, creating wealth and, taking on and taking advantage of several different opportunities. And, I think we've been doing a good job at it, to tell you the truth. I'm not a Debbie Downer by any stretch of the imagination. We got a lot of people all across the Southland region doing some phenomenal things right now. So we just have to just keep going and keep at it.
Dr. Darden, before we let you get out of here, what do you see as being the next phase of black flight or black movement, if you will, as it relates to the Southland, right? Where you had so many people coming from the city, moving out south. Now you got people moving from out south back into the city, or further south or west. What do you think is the next trend that we'll see in terms of black migration as it relates to the Southland?
I think we're going to start seeing a lot more mixed communities. I think that, our concept of a black community is definitely going away. We're going to start seeing more mixed couples in the south suburbs. We're going to start seeing more mixed neighborhoods in Chicago. Yeah, so it's going to be spread out, which is kind of interesting because, when we look at our current dynamics in black politics, if I may, it's centered around that cluster of black people and that cluster of a black community. And when you don't have that cluster from that voting block, then it weakens the black political power. And we're going to start seeing that more and more.
It absolutely does weaken black.
And I'm not pretty much saying whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. That's not what I'm getting at.
It's a bad thing. We don't have to question it. It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. There's no way around it. It's a bad thing. That's what gives us. So getting back to just the value of government, right? And just I was reading this the other day, right? 1976. Yeah, I was born, right? 75% of the populace of Chicago, not black, but just the populace in general, was middle class residents.
Really?
Right?
Okay.
They made up this city. It was a blue collar city. You know what I mean? Today it's 16%. So what's that mean? It means that there's an eradication of the middle class, right? And if we look at us from a class standpoint, where does that put us? We're not moving into the wealth sector.
No.
we're moving away from it. So even when you start talking about black flight, they're not moving back to the city, bro. They can't afford to. They're moving further and further south, right? And as they disband those communities, and they're going to make money on both ends, the powers that be.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So as they disband those communities, he's right. We are going to lose our political power. But when you think about black economics, right, that black entrepreneurship thing, I hear you, brother. And I also heard you say you was a capitalist. I deal in capitalism because I'm forced to, but I'm not a capitalist. It's not to our advantage. You know what I mean? But when you start thinking about black economics, it all comes through government, right? It all comes through being able to have some kind of political power, right? That's where our money comes from. 99% of black people are employed through government employment. So without that black political representation, why do you think the police is all Irish? Right? That's their stronghold. Why do you think we're all bus drivers? That's where we got the opportunity, or post offices. That's where we got the opportunity. But you think that an Irish family doesn't want that opportunity or won't access that opportunity? As the world changes, the AI becomes more and more important. So as we disband and start to circulate throughout wherever we circulate into and have these mixed communities, we're going to lose power and we're going to lose economic value.
Yeah. I think that we kind of blindly walk into these situations, right? Because it always comes up with the face of convenience on it, right? It's like, oh, that's convenient. And so we kind of blindly do it. I was having a conversation about this the other day, and we were talking about like bank tellers and all that, and how you'd be hard pressed to go in any bank and find more than one person that's actually, being a bank teller at any given time. And the lady was telling me, she's like, so I asked the lady, like, yo, can y'all open up another one? And she said the lady kind of rudely told her, like, hey, you can go over there to the ATM. Like, you know what I mean? And she says, like, so I told her, man, if all of us go to the ATM, what your ass gonna do?
You don't got a job, lady.
Okay, like, but we see it and it looks like convenience. I was watching TV the other day. I was watching the football game the other day, or the draft. The other day, and I think it was a Domino's commercial came on, and they had a freaking robot deliver the pizza. Like, leave out the thing, like roll down the street and take it to wherever it was going. And I'm like, yo, that's wild as hell. We don't even need pizza delivery boys no more. Like, it's off the chain.
No.
Like, what you gonna do when you 16,
Amazon
17?
is on his way out there to the Southland, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, well, they got drones in them factories.
Exactly. We drop those off.
We don't need people.
Bring it right to your porch.
Yeah, man.
Any last words before we let you go, Dr. Darden?
Oh, I just so thankful for the opportunity to appear on you guys' show. I'm a huge fan. Love what you guys are doing, and would love to come back anytime you like.
Appreciate you so much. You are always welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time. We look forward to talking to you again soon. Keep up the great work, brother.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
My man, appreciate you. I also heard Janice Jackson is now speaking. We want to see if we can tune back into that.
Let's try to jump back into Dr. Jackson's press conference. Again, if you are just finding out.
You're not going to be taken seriously if you don't have a high
Chicago Public School CEO, Dr. Janice Jackson, is announcing her resignation.
We have to stay focused on that and cut the other crap out. That's my advice to everybody. And like I said, I'll be here after this to speak more on that. I bite my tongue sometimes because I represent the district, and I have to, that's something that I take very seriously as I'm in role. But I also think I'll be doing a lot more advocating as a CPS parent and making sure that we hold everybody accountable. Everybody that's in a leadership position needs to be held accountable for what they do and what they say, because it impacts the way this district operates. So you'll be hearing more from me on that.
Okay. We good?
All right.
One more. Sorry.
Yes.
Quick question for Mayor Lightfoot.
Mayor Lightfoot?
Yep.
Okay.
Hi, Colin Boyle, Block Club Chicago. Just a question from our editors. In light of the WB story this morning about how only about 25% of CPD officers have gotten their first shot at a city-run site like what we were talking about earlier, will the city require CPD officers to be vaccinated, and why isn't the city keeping track of city workers' vaccine statuses?
Well, I don't know that number is actually accurate when you look at the totality. There are a number of sites that were set up primarily for first responders where they weren't specifically saying, what's your employer, where do you work, right? That show their credentials and then they'd come in. I actually think the number is higher, and given that there have been people who got vaccinated by their private doctors that went to these pop-up sites, it's difficult in that circumstance for us to be able to know in totality who's gotten vaccinated. But obviously, we want to maximize the number, not just for CPD, but truly for all of our city employees and residents across the city. Maximizing the number of people that get the vaccine is what is going to allow us to get back to a sense of normal, making summer of 2021 look more like summer of 2019.
Absolutely. And then just another follow-up question, off topic from CPS. But in the Sun-Times this morning, there was an article about how the MacArthur Foundation had a study out that says about 86% of ShotSpotter reports go unfounded. Should the city and CPD keep spending money on ShotSpotter technology? Well,
again, I challenge, I don't think that, you said the MacArthur Foundation. I think that's the MacArthur Justice Center who sues the city. So let's make sure that that's clear. That's not the MacArthur Foundation. I'm not confident that those numbers are actually accurate, but here's what I do know. ShotSpotter technology, when coupled with the camera technology that we have in the SDSC rooms, no question whatsoever, is a lifesaver. Number one, it allows us in real time to understand what's happened in any given location and dispatch people to help. Number two, in an environment where people are fearful sometimes of calling 911 for a variety of reasons, ShotSpotter allows us to understand that those challenges exist, that are out there. So where the calls for service don't come, we still are able to respond. And what I also know is that this year, and again, unfortunately, I don't think the reporting has done justice to it, we are at 60% of homicide clearance rate. In part because ShotSpotter, coupled with the SDSC rooms, have provided a bounty of real-time information, so detectives are on the scene, securing the evidence, looking for witnesses, getting additional video support. ShotSpotter, coupled with the technology that we have in the city, has been invaluable. I have these conversations because they're initiated many times from mayors of other cities across the country. ShotSpotter alone isn't enough, but paired up with the other technology and the emphasis that we've been placing on really solving crimes and winning the confidence of the public, and I shouldn't underestimate that, we are seeing, even in these very challenging times, where legitimacy of policing is very much on the table, people are coming forward and providing invaluable information that leads to us solving shootings, homicides, and other violent crimes. So it's the whole package, and ShotSpotter plays.
That is about all I can take of her. How do you know a politician is lying?
Because their mouth is moving.
Because their mouth is moving. That's it, man. It's unbelievable. Like it's like
60%.
Yeah, dude. Like this thing happened. Well, I don't know if that's actually accurate. Long roundabout bunch of words about nothing. Come back, not answer that man's question. Move on. Like, and then you say that CPD is solving 60% of homicides in this city?
Yeah, I really only came back to hear what Dr. Jackson had
Me
to
too,
say.
but you know,
once that obviously.
Yeah, but once
I really wasn't interested in listening to Lori folks.
she just be like, she's incapable of just allowing the truth to flow out of her mouth. It's just like, let me figure out a way to lie my way through this. It's like bullshit. Like, stop it. Like, just answer a question. 60% of homicides getting solved in this city?
But see, that
damn lie.
That conversation right there, even in conjunction with the Dr. Darden conversation, even in conjunction with the Tim Scott, Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden conversation, all run succinctly in my mind. They're all one conversation to me, right?
Agreed.
So here's Lori Lightfoot talking about ShotSpotter. And I was clearing 60% of the homicides or the crimes in our community.
Right.
And you think about you think about what ShotSpotter is, right? It's a technology that could tell your ass what and where a gun was fired from, right? Like
with almost pinpoint accuracy.
You know what I'm saying? So you think about that happening on 51st Street, because it happens, they never did it in our community. And it's like we talking about the militarization of, local police forces, which is why they got, $295 million or whatever she took off the COVID money to put into the police force. And we can go around the country with that. I've seen stuff like little ass towns like, what's the little TV show that used to come on with the police force? It was Andy Griffin and them. It was like 2 cops.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I can't think of the name of the show, but it's towns like that running around with tanks. Like, you got a tank in your town that a police force that houses 5 people.
Right. 6 cops in here, you got a tank.
What the fuck is the tank for?
Right. And who knows how to operate it?
And who knows how to drive the tank? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's this over-militarization of these police forces because it's easier to be punitive, because punitive creates capital for the powers that be. It's how we feed capitalism. It's why they over-incarcerate black people. Because why is that? Because they can put your ass back in slavery, right? And those who are really at the top of the hill of the capitalist concept need slaves.
Period.
It's just how the game works. You understand? If I got a team of monkeys working around the clock for me, I'm going to be wealthy. If I'm selling Q-tips or hot dogs, it doesn't matter.
Whatever.
It doesn't matter.
Whatever.
You know what I mean? But then again, we backdoored and say, well, just like the brother does, I'm a capitalist. We can't be. It's eroding the collective. We can't be. And it bothers me because we keep having these conversations, but we don't really digest what that really means, even going back to the Tim Scott or Kamala Harris or America's not racist, because I don't want to fuck up my position in the paradigm.
That's what it is. It's me.
You know what I mean?
Now we can talk this conversation and act like it's this collective thing. That's not real, right? You talking about how can you advance your shit, and if that's what you want, cool. I'm not mad. I'm not judging you. Do your thing, right? But you blur the lines immensely when you pretend that it's about something that it ain't about. You know what I'm saying? It's about you. And that's where it is, and just leave it there. And then you get like the mayor. First of all, because I can't not be immature. Does anybody else get caught up like watching the sign language person during some of these like speeches?
Nah.
You don't pay him attention?
The only time I ever paid him attention when it was the brother who was lying about it. I just thought that was awesome. I thought that was great.
Wait, what happened?
He was like, I think he might have been.
Oh, that's right. He didn't know what he was doing.
He was just up there making shit up. Like,
he never crip walking and shit.
I said I love it, G.
And he had made it all the way. It was like something major he was on, wasn't it?
It was a big deal. I said he's mastered capitalism. He's reached the finest level.
He is the GOAT. But that also goes to show you nobody give a fuck about people who can't hear. You know what I'm saying? Y'all ain't nobody vetted this motherfucker. Like, you can do it? Here, come talk to them. Vogue.
I thought that was awesome.
No, I don't. For some reason, I get caught up watching. They do it at my church too. You know what I'm saying? And so I get caught up just watching them sometimes because this is complete ignorance, right? It don't always look like they're saying what this person is talking about. They be more excited. It's like, why are you so excited? They're not excited like that. And like it's ridiculous. I'm sorry. You know what else? While we on the topic, there's Braille in places that Braille doesn't need to be. I know we're talking about hearing impaired. Now I'm talking about, blind. But there's Braille in places that it doesn't make any freaking sense. There's Braille at drive-through ATMs, fam.
You might be in the back seat.
What are we doing, fam?
You might be in the back seat.
What are we doing?
You might be in an Uber.
What are we doing?
Because it's the only economy that exists.
What are we doing, fam?
Think about it. You're in the Uber, you're in the back seat. I'm just saying, you need to do that. I'm just saying, it's where the economy exists at this point. You know what I mean?
Fam. It's like Braille in the bathrooms at movie theaters.
Hey man, you hearing it? I don't know how that works. I don't know that one. You got me with that one. I don't know that one kind of threw me. I was finna try to come up with something, but I don't know. You know what I mean?
Hey, I'm just in the questions that need answers, man.
Hey, I want to dig deep into this Tim Scott thing, though, because it's not just as simple as him saying America's not racist and Joe Biden echoing in that, and Kamala Harris echoing that, and today, South Carolina, what's the boy's name? I can't remember his name.
I don't know his name.
God damn it escapes me. But either way, this is an article out of USA Today about somebody who had an interaction with Kamala Harris.
All right, so let's dive deep into that. Let's take a quick break. We'll take the quick break. We'll dive deep into that. But two, I need you to do me a favor on this break, right? I got your computer over here, right? There is a photo that I really would like to go up on the screen for the entirety of this break.
That's not on my computer.
It can be, sure. It's on Facebook.
I'm banned from that Facebook. So let me see if I can forward it.
Please.
I don't want to do that.
No, yes, please. Please.
I don't want to do that.
Please. Just go on Facebook.
Let me put this
Go
out.
on Facebook from the Herb and 2 page.
Just go on Facebook.
Just go on Facebook from the Herb and 2 page.
No, I wouldn't.
Pull it up. Okay? It is the photo of the week. And I need it to be on the screen for this entire break.
Let me say this. The views expressed on I Said What I Said are the views of Herb Howard.
Hey, it's a dope photo.
And 2, it just been forced down the slide.
It is a very, very dope photo, okay? And I enjoyed it. I was thoroughly entertained by it. And I figure everybody else would be too. So if you could just go ahead and throw that up, that'd be phenomenal, man.
There you go.
Cool. Gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we'll dive deeper into the Tim Scott, Kamala Harris discussion. This is I Say What I Said. My name is Herb. His name is 2. All hail King Salim.
Since 2018, nearly 3,000 tax credit scholarships have been awarded to Black students in Illinois to attend private schools that best fit their needs. Now, Governor Pritzker wants to slash this program. In a time of much uncertainty, we need greater equity in education for our families and children, not less. Call your state representative and senator and urge them to stand up for our kids and their future by supporting the Tax Credit Scholarship Program. For more information, visit empoweredillinois.org.
Greetings, family. I am Salim Muwakil, and I welcome you to Muwakil's World. I'm going to chop it up with Dr. Lance Williams, professor at Jacob Carruthers Center for Inner City Studies, and one of the most knowledgeable scholars of Chicago's street organizations.
During the doo-wop era, you wasn't doing no doo-wop about what you was doing in the street. That was improper. What made rap so unique was that for the first time, this is how we actually are living, especially at the bottom. So what happens is it becomes so popular because it's so raw. And ultimately, rappers realize that this is what sells and this is what the industry wants. So even guys who don't authentically have those experiences and young women are rapping about it and having success. And after years of now this happening, it becomes known that, hey, this dude ain't really no real gangster. You know, this is a studio gangster. And what it did was music lost credibility because people thought they were listening to real gangsters rap. The sales of the music, which basically was being consumed by white suburban youth. This was their way of, it was a voyeuristic way of experiencing the hood, which they've always been fascinated with, without actually putting your life in danger. So you can listen to it, but once they found out, oh, these dudes ain't real, then even they stopped buying it. What's going on in the streets today? Because what the industry did was they realized, hey, the studio gangster thing ain't gonna work. So guess what? Let's go get some real gangsters that got the real credibility. But you know, when Chief Keef and these guys, so what we have expressed in the music scene today, when you deal with either, you know, trap down stuff, but particularly drill music is the hot music. That's right. Nationally, right? And internationally. And internationally, right? Which started right here on 63rd. Old Block. Okay, Old Block. So it's a shooting culture. So that's what they're rapping about, and that's what is hot, right? And so we saw the tragedy. Fratricide is hot. Yeah, that's what the tragedy of King Von, right? Of him, you know, he's a real dude. Now what happens is, because that's the model of success, everybody is following that, so everybody wants to be a shooter now. And what it's doing is it's driving a lot of the violence. In any culture, your music and your entertainment is a part of your cultural expression. So whenever you can have an extended period of time of a particular type of music that's having influence, it becomes a part of your culture. That's what Kwabena is saying in terms of his activism. I'm saying basically these radio stations are helping to produce a culture that's leading to the death and destruction of the black community so that they could sell, commodify, you know, their merch, right? But, you know, we losing a lot of little brothers and sisters in the streets because of this, the way they think about things, how they see themselves, which they get from the music. Now, people are like, well, that's crazy that they're being influenced by music. They should be influenced by the values of their families. Ideally, yes. But the reality of the society that we live in is who has the biggest voice. And we know the media is the biggest voice in terms of ideals in the society that we live in.
If that fratricidal motif is being absorbed primarily by white listeners, who's the primary audience, yes, why aren't they exhibiting this kind of behavior?
Because, first of all, it's not their identity.
You better be careful, baby, be careful. This is a baby making tone. Better be careful what your radio on. This is a baby making tone. Better be careful what your radio on. You let down your hair when you're feeling sexy. You bite on your lip when you're holding your tongue. You uncross your legs, yeah, without even speaking. Your body is screaming. You wanna
Welcome back. Welcome back. We are live from inside the What's in It for the Black People Media Studios
with Mood Moves.
Mood Moves. On a Saline Monday, Muwakil's World.
Honoring the king.
All honor and respect to King Salim. Get your traps in. Get your biceps up.
Back when Skeezer was in his vocabulary.
Back when Skeezer was in his vocabulary. Kenneth almost died. I ain't gonna lie, G.
That was the best.
That was so funny, G. I almost died when I read that one. Like that hilarious. But you see all the women in there
going crazy.
Snack.
Full snack.
Whole meal.
With whole sides on the side.
3-course meal at the restaurant with no prices on the menu.
Even in here. So Esco turn the lights down low.
She playing
Mary
the soft
like,
music.
I knew Celine was a whole meal. He a meal today.
So we're gonna keep the vibe.
Gotta keep the vibe smooth and sexy.
Turn the lights down low.
Nicole Rogers said, stimulate my mind muscle.
Ain't the only muscle she won't stimulate it right now. Okay? So leave it and change the game in here. You know what I'm saying? Go keep it nice and sexy for the rest of the show here,
nice
man.
Nice and sexy.
King Salim.
Lights low, voice low.
I don't know if y'all had a chance when y'all saw that post to hop up in those comments, but I did.
Oh, the comments was going.
Shout out to Miss Emma.
The comments was going.
King Salim said, back in time when I was a little bit more fit. Miss Emma say, shit. Ain't nothing changed.
Presenton.
Right? Oh, I'm sorry, King Salim. Please don't hurt me. I couldn't resist myself.
Nah, I love it, though. This is awesome.
He said, hey, man, y'all wildin'.
I just want him to pronounce something.
Oh, y'all wildin' for real.
Celine, this is all her, man. I had nothing to do with this. Trust me.
Look, as soon as I saw the picture, I said, dude, we're playing that on every break tomorrow. Oh, if I can gather myself, we can hop back into this conversation. I don't know that I can, but I will try.
Gather yourself, brother. Gather yourself. Let's get into it.
Should I turn the lights back on?
Yes.
Should I turn the lights back on in this joint?
That would probably work perfectly.
Oh, that was great. I hope y'all needed that as much as I did, because that was beautiful.
Ready Rock says that picture shows why he been macking and hanging. We have
a guest that walked in like, hey, what's going on in here?
Oh, my God.
Nah, that's classic, though.
That's great stuff. Love you, King.
Salute to the king. That's what I commented on it when I saw it, too. I said, you still a king, brother. You still a king.
That's right. Oh, hell.
I want to get into this article real quick from USA Today. Mm-hmm. And it's about the America's Not Racist thing, but I just want to read how this plays out, right? And the title of the article says, as America reckons with racism, Kamala Harris puts her identity as the first black VP front and center, right? It says Sarah Bradshaw, Shigara
okay.
Bradshaw wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary last month when she dropped into a vaccination site in Jacksonville, Florida for a second COVID-19 shot. Bradshaw had heard that the Vice President Kamala Harris was visiting the tenant facility to encourage people to get vaccinated. But when she was pulled out of the registration, let me move my computer. When she was pulled out of the registration line to meet Harris, Bradshaw knew how she wanted to introduce herself. Good afternoon, Sora, Bradshaw, 38, said, as she delighted fellow Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority sister and fellow graduate of a historically black university. As Navy troops wearing military fatigue prepared doses, Bradshaw and Harris chatted about being role models by getting vaccinated and about Bradshaw's job at the Jacksonville school, where she's the teacher of the year. An honor that was the highlight of her year until she met Harris. I felt like I was speaking to someone that understood me, Bradshaw said. She knows what it's like in the struggle of the she knows what it's like, the struggles of African American women, what we have to go through. Hold on, I gotta move the joint. I really wanted to stop there.
Okay.
Actually, and there's some more to it or whatever, but I just thought that was so telling. When on one hand, Kamala saying, no, it's not really what it is.
Right.
Biden saying, no, it's not really what it is. It's
right.
pockets. You know. Tim Scott saying it's not really what it is. The brother from South Carolina, I can't think of his name for some reason. No, that's not really what it is. But specifically this, because this is the people talking, right? Sagara, how you said name, Sagara Bradshaw is the people.
Right.
Right, and she says, this woman relates to me. She understands my struggle. But does she?
Does she? Can she?
Can she?
How, Sway?
How has she? How, Sway?
I'm literally like saying the same things as I'm seeing them pop on the screen. Like, how?
That's kind of where the struggle lies. So even to the point of the brother that we just spoke to from the Southlands talked about, he was like, we went with the Republican Party when they was freeing the slaves. Then we went with the Democratic Party when they dropped the New Deal. Yes, God damn it, we did.
As we should.
As we should, because that's where the advantage was for us as a people. Because as a people, these are the things that we needed in the time.
Exactly.
Right? Now we got sisters who in Jacksonville, Florida, as a school teacher, saying how much her and Kamala Harris' lives resonate.
Right.
And they just don't.
It's not a real thing.
It's not a real thing.
Like
she's not had your experience.
Not even close.
Not even close.
You know what I'm saying? So
and you've not had her experience. Not even close.
I'm from South Shore on the south side of Chicago. So a brother that's from, I don't know, somewhere similar in Oakland.
If you from the west side of Chicago.
We understand.
And I'm from the south side of Chicago. We've not had the same experience. Just that. We've had the Chicago experience, but the lingo's different. The way we move is different. The way we dress is different.
I was actually making
the way we even think is different.
Yeah, but I was actually making the other point to say, like, we have similar experiences, right? Nuances are different, sure, dress, speech, pattern, all that stuff, but we can understand each other, right?
But
Kamala ain't got that. You can't understand that.
There's a difference between these 8 miles.
Yeah, for sure.
A visual difference, a visible difference in thought, not just in representation, but in thought in these 8 miles. What do you think happens when you're born
on another side of the
Indian
world
and a Jamaican parent? What do you think is happening when you're raised in Canada's most affluent neighborhood? What do you think happens? Right? There's a difference.
Ain't no shared experience with me.
It's not a shared experience, right? Whenever we speak to our brothers and sisters from the diaspora, right, in regards to how you feel about Pan-Africanism or whatever, whenever we have conversations directly with brothers and sisters from the diaspora, if they're open with you, at least the ones I've run into, has always come back with a conversation saying, hey, my people tell me specifically.
Yeah, all the time.
Don't rock with y'all.
All the time.
I've not come across one of those conversations where I've had a level of comfort with a brother from the diaspora, but that has not been a response.
Not at all.
How do you think she relates to you, sister?
She look similar to me?
Yeah. She fits in the same Crayola box.
She's an AKA. She went to Howard. She wears Chucks, pearls, and Timbs.
That's it. So when we get to the Tim Scott conversation and Kamala backing that and whoever else backs that, it's because the context, and this goes back to I'm a capitalist. The context is secure my positioning. And as long as my positioning is secure, whatever magic trick or whatever lie I got to tell you, I'm going to do it. And I ain't mad at that because that's how capitalism works.
Sure.
Right? It's not no empathy in that shit.
Nah, it's cutthroat.
I mean? It's cutthroat. Right? But as a consumer, we got to become educated consumers.
Right.
And we're not. And we see it directly represented in this conversation right here. I knew exactly how I was going to greet her. Hey, Soror.
Right.
And when I talked to her, I was the teacher of the year in Jacksonville.
Right.
And that was the biggest highlight of my life until I met Kamala Harris.
Right. You're the greatest teacher in Jacksonville. That's dope. Meeting this lady, Okay. Nice to meet you. Like it for real. Like
That's real.
It doesn't even serve us, even if you feel that way, right? If somebody comes out and says, "Yeah, racism in this country is not a real thing. That's not actually happening here," right? Even if, as a black person, you kind of be like, "I kind of agree." Or that's been my experience too. I haven't personally experienced a bunch of racism. Shut your ass up. Okay, because this ain't your time, all right? Let us say, yes, the fuck it is, and this is what we want in return for that, or this is what we want to see changed about that, right? As opposed to you saying it don't exist, so they can just keep on going with their stuff. If you feel other, just shut up. That's why I was saying when we was talking about the killing of the young girl in Columbus last week, and I gave my stance on it, and everybody was like, "Nah, I'm on the other side," and I was like, "Okay, I still believe what I believe, but if y'all saying Herb, don't pop off against the squad right now, then cool, I can go with that." You know what I'm saying? You ain't got no business saying this. Like if
I see it differently though. Mm-hmm. And I just, it's not just about saying it. Even in the context I had this conversation being had in the media, right? And what I've been seeing, at least in the media, how the conversation has been had. Like they're responding to this America's not racism, and then the black people who are responding in the context of saying the history of America is racist. Mm-hmm. Like there's these conversations about, the Klan. There's these conversations about separate but equal water fountains in schools and all this, and it bothers me because it starts to condition the brain that it's not happening right now today. Mm. Right, as if this is a thing of the past.
Right,
no, this shit is today,
ever present.
This shit is right now today, and it's not just represented through the loss of life of, let's say, a sensationalized situation like George Floyd, or a sensationalized sister like the young sister Ma'Khia Bryant. Or it's not just through those sensationalized systems. It's through the daily context of how you live. Mm-hmm. Right, so I went and got some stats just so we understand how racist this shit is today.
So we're gonna get to the truth and not to the feelings.
Let's get to the truth. Fuck the feelings, because it ain't about feelings. It's about truth, right? Disparities in the delivery room. Pregnancies-related deaths per 100,000 of live births. Black women die 3 times more often than white women. Per 41 black women die versus 13 white women, right? COVID. Black people are 17.7% of the population, but accounted for 23% of the COVID deaths.
That's like third world birth mortality rate. Like
third world.
Yeah.
Absolutely, right? If you're Hispanic and you were actually in Mexico.
Like the slums of it.
The slums of Mexico, you got a better chance of surviving than a black woman in a first world country.
Right.
Yeah, that's the real numbers.
At University of Chicago. Or Northwestern.
Right. That's the real numbers, right? So black men and black women live shorter lifespan. The average black man dies at 71.9 years age. The average white man lives at 76.4. That's their data. I'm going to say the real data from the hood is 65, right? Black women, 78 and a half years old. White woman, 81, right? Percentage of high school students who graduate on time. Asian, 92%. White, 89%. Hispanic, 81%. Black, 79%. College graduates, of the people who go to college, right? This ain't just a direct number. Of the 12% of us that go to college,
right,
only 40%
So the first 88 is already.
That's all. We already done with that shit. So when you hear a number like 40%, it ain't 40 of 100.
Right.
It's 40 of 12%.
Right.
Right? So Asian, 74% of them graduate. White, 64% of them graduate. Hispanic, 54% of them graduate. Black, 40% graduate. But 40 of the 12% that actually even attend, right? Who even have the opportunity. Right? Underemployment and unemployment rates. The U.S. average is 13.3%. That's the U.S. average. Now, this is all these numbers are tricky, right? The white average right now is 12.4%. The black average is 16.8%. The Hispanic average is 17.6%. And the Asian average is 15%. We lead all of them.
That's the average of what now? What are those numbers?
Unemployment.
Really?
Right? Yeah, that's unemployment.
Okay.
We average the highest number, second largest population, right? Highest number, second largest population. But this doesn't count those people who've already just dropped out of the job market completely. Right. When I walked in, Gino said, man, when the weather broke, I'm going down 53rd. And it's looking like Canal Street in New York. They didn't set up shop with selling the fake Jordans, the fake purses. That's our economy. Just like the brother from the Southland said, them numbers is kind of juke because we count all the black LLCs and anybody who filed paperwork for LLC.
Right.
You ain't generating no capital.
Right.
You ain't got no business. You selling arts and crafts on the corner.
Right.
That's them numbers, right? Okay.
A company of one.
A company of one. And he said it in the Southland thing. You might generate $1,000 a year.
Right.
That's not a business.
Right.
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 You can't hang our hat on that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Median household income: Asian, 81,000; white, 69,000; all races, 61,000; Hispanic, 50,000; black, 40. We've had this conversation several times. Home ownership: your average U.S. 65%, white 73%, black 44%, Hispanic 48%. Black poverty rate is 21.2%, Hispanic 18%, all races 12%, Asian 10%, white 8%. Inmates in the federal and state prison system: black, there's 475,900 inmates. I think it's really around 700,000. It says 475,900 black inmates. This might just be men then. In federal prisons.
Okay.
Federal and state prisons. Right? White, 456,500. Hispanic, 336,500. Here's the interesting part. We're the smallest population here, right? 13% black population, 18% Hispanic population, 61% white population. So them numbers being as big as they are is a larger representation percentage-wise in our community.
Sure.
We can go down the line. We've led in every category of failure so far, right?
We first. First to be last.
First, and I'm not even gonna read the rest of it because it don't even matter.
Good and terrible.
It don't even matter if we're reading the rest of it,
Yeah.
right? But how can you say, and this is what I make the argument every time, when we're at the bottom of every metric, we as a people have to accept one or two ideas. Either we really are a flawed people, or there's a system at play that's keeping us in the position that we're in. So when you get black representatives saying, you know, America's not racism, what they're saying to you is that you niggas is full of shit. You niggas don't want nothing out of life. I don't see how they could be saying anything else. Because the only other answer to that would be, we got to acknowledge that this systemic concept is putting us in a position to fail.
That's what I'm saying. To believe otherwise. I say it all the time, right? To believe that this shit is not by design would literally be to believe that we are just more violent, more ignorant, more susceptible to drug abuse than everybody else on the face of the fucking planet. You know what I'm saying? Like we just something inherent inside of us is just like, yeah, we ain't that fucking smart, we ain't that fucking capable, and we are very, very violent. Like, what? Like, how can you think that to be the case? That you think that just by design of who we are, right? We are dead last in every fucking thing. That's just because we lazy and ain't shit.
That's what they got.
Everything, G?
Everything.
You know how hard it is to roll the dice and hit the same thing 8
and
times?
Lose every time.
You hit it, G? Like, god damn. We ain't accidentally second to last in nothing. You feel like I got to be accidentally second to last on something. I could play something I ain't never played before. I'm going to beat somebody at least once if we play the game fucking 15 times.
Yeah, that's true. But we don't.
That's bananas, dog. And then people believe that it's just they make poor decisions and they lazy. And what if you don't shut your dumb ass up? Okay, this is by design. There's a entire system put in place to create those outcomes that you just read.
But we got to live with audacity, right? And I think, and the reason why it struck me is because when I said, again, I'm not mad at Kamala Harris, right? If you're a con man, you should master your goddamn con. That's respectable to me.
Salute it.
I'm not gonna lie to you. It's respectable.
I ain't mad.
Right? If you gonna be a criminal, be the best goddamn criminal you could be.
I ain't mad.
I support it.
I ain't mad.
I've told you personally, I've had that conversation with my child. My daddy had that conversation with me.
Right.
When I got moved to Iowa, like you gonna do better. No, my uncle was a criminal. He said, I can't teach you how to be a criminal. He can.
Right.
Go learn all you need to learn.
That's what you want to do.
That's what you want to do. Go learn.
Go do it.
Same conversation I've had with my son. I can't stop you from being who you're gonna be.
Nah.
But you gonna master whatever it is.
Right. And I'm not mad at other people all the time. When I was coaching football, I tell my players, Coach, he holding me. I don't give a shit. Get his hand off of you. You know what I'm saying? You want me to tell him to stop? He don't even play for my team. Okay? He gonna keep holding you until you put it, take it, make him get his hands off of you. Okay? Stop telling me that shit. All right? Yeah. Like, you got a job to do. Either you gonna do it or he gonna do his. Both of y'all ain't finna win on this play.
But to the point I'm making, man, we gotta live with audacity, right? And that audacity has to be wrapped in the cultural identity, right? So when we get this representation in the media, and the conversation is only stuck at 1960 and beyond, you know,
right.
We're not being honest.
Right.
And that's kind of how the ideas get projected today. Like, we think of this kind of construct as a thing of the past. And it's not, it's a thing of the present. Right? It's a thing of the present.
Mm-hmm.
Janet Jackson is leaving CPS today.
Mm-hmm.
Like, quietly, there's whispers and conversations that less than 30% of CPS students have logged into digital learning since they've been on COVID vacation. What the fuck happens to that system next year when they re-enroll in school? What happens? Then let's look at this, right? Who makes up the largest populace of CPS students? Going back to the racism conversation. It's black and brown students, right? White students make up 10% or less than CPS students. But 90% of what's the what do they call the high-ranking schools? The
selective enrollment.
Selective enrollment schools. How the fuck are you 10% of the population, but 90% of all the selective enrollment schools?
Y'all, it's only a few good seats here, and y'all have them all.
Y'all got them all, and we saying that this isn't a racist goddamn country.
Come on, man.
Man, miss me. So what I'm saying from the black media, quoting whatever that really means, right? Whatever that really means is that if you really want change, and that's the question we got to ask ourselves.
Do you?
Do you really want these changes?
And what are you willing to do to get it?
What are you willing to do to get it? Because if you're not living with audacity, we're never going to get to the crux of these conversations.
Impossible.
Right? It's amazing today. I don't know if it was you to send me a video, but this white woman was at some kind of like PTA meeting or something, and she was legitimately breaking down in tears. Like, I do not want my children to learn critical race theory. I don't want them to know nothing about you niggas. Then you got Mitch McConnell saying, I'm about to defund any of y'all that even consider teaching this shit. And we're essentially seconding those emotions when we get on these platforms, whatever they may be, and say, even in how we construct the conversation, even if we're anti what Tim Scott said, even if we're anti what Kamala Harris said, or we only talk about it in the context of the Ku Klux Klan, or in the context of Martin Luther King being killed,
right? Not in the context of the bank manager,
or not in the context of white kids making up 10% of CPS,
right? That part,
and 90% of selective enrollment.
That part.
This is your reality. This is your today. This is the now, right? This is not a thing of the past.
Yeah.
Right? My child's first school experience was with a private school, and it was a Montessori school. After sitting down with them folks for like, I couldn't convince my wife not to go. It took me a month, though, to prove that, see?
White people going white.
The white people going white. They going to show their hand.
They are.
You understand what I'm saying? But I had to actually subject my son to what I knew was going to happen. Because I was young and I didn't know how to manage my marriage, too. Right? But I had to allow my son to be subjected to this goddamn abuse, because it is abuse.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Before I could get her to realize that it's abuse. It's funny, like my wife is from Kankakee. The way I think and the way she thinks is we on these sides of the spectrum. Right now, over the time we done been together, I be seeing her ass, she walking around with everything pro-black because I done kind of converted her ass. Right? But even when she talks to the rest of her people, she's, in her mind, like, she's struggling. Because they don't see the world the way she sees the world now.
Right.
And because they're from a different paradigm. They've bought in.
Right.
And it's very difficult for them to see that world. But her being uniquely attached to me allows her to see a version of this shit that she's never even seen.
Right.
Or never even considered.
Right.
And I think that the vast majority of Americans, black Americans specifically too, move in that paradigm, in that trajectory.
It's that sincere ignorance that you was just speaking about that allows people to really believe that this racist shit is not happening. Right? It's like some people are just, choosing to be, ignorant, and I'm decidedly, indifferent about this thing. But there are a lot of people who, like, it's not my reality. I don't understand it. I don't see it. Why y'all always crying about something? Ain't nobody do nothing to y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they choose to be that way. It's comfortable. That's been their experience, man. But like you said, they gonna show their hand. You know what I'm saying? And so you give them enough time, they are going to show their hand. White people going white. Speaking of white peopling, okay, this is not a conversation for today. But remind me on Friday that there is a video that I want to play on Friday, on Relationship Friday. It is.
Send me the video and I'll decide if I'm gonna remind you.
Okay. I'm gonna send it to you right now. It is not okay. Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now. It's not okay.
Hey, I wanted to have some ratchet comments. It ain't necessarily ratchet, but white people was white people this weekend too, right? The weather got real nice, and
I'll send it to you. It's in your Instagram DM. I did send it to you last night. I was tweaking, but
I'm gonna check it out. But we jumped on the bike. What was that? Was it Sunday? Was it a nice day? Was it Sunday yesterday?
Yeah. What's today? Monday? Yeah, Saturday and Sunday was nice.
Yeah, but it's super nice. So we jumped on the bike
Saturday.
early.
That's what Saturday was. Whatever. It was nice.
So Eric had games at night, so I jumped on the bike early so I could just get it out of the system. I put up 25 miles, right?
Okay.
But it was horrible 25. Like the first 4 was strong, the other 21 I was out there dying.
Just laboring through
struggle miles.
Hey, totally. You got him in though.
But we hit the lake. We rode the lake all the way up to like Irving Park.
How many miles you think King Salim hit on that photo day?
He was getting it sexy.
Like 100 miles?
He probably did a hot 30, then stopped at the hot spot.
You stopped?
Wherever the chicks was at.
Hey, make sure I'm glistening.
Check out my spandex. My spandex.
Spandex. Spandex. Remember when on Night Professor with Eddie Murphy, when he first turned to Buddy Love from Professor Clump and he went shopping, like, what can I get you, sir? Spandex. Spandex.
But we ride up to like Irving Park. Then I'm like, gee, I'm dying. And I know I got 20 more miles to get back to the crib. You know what I'm saying? About 15 more miles to get back. I'm like, I'm dying. We got to go back. But I wanted to get off the lake because the wind was heavy too. So I figured if we ride through the streets, it wouldn't be so windy.
Right.
So before we ride back to the crib, I stopped at the park, pulling out some water, just chilling, just sitting on the bench, me and my man talking, drinking some water. Now this is a white bastion. This is, the lake is hot. White folks. White folk. You know what I mean? Everybody got their dog. Boyfriends are with their boyfriends. You know what I mean? It's going down up here. You know what I mean? It's the full North Side experience.
Sometimes I really don't like you.
You know what it is, though. And I'm accepting. I'm just enjoying the weather. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And we sitting there on the bench, and this old white woman, like, she was staring us down for like a block and a half. Like, you can see it coming. Like, she wanted to say, niggas, what are you doing here? Right. I was like, we better get on out of here.
Especially you had your hair up like that?
Oh, yeah. It was definitely time to get on call.
She's like, hell no.
She was ready to push us back to slavery, G. It was different.
Oh.
It was a caring moment. She definitely wanted to say something. She was thinking so hard of what could she get away with. I was like, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
But
it
is what it is.
It's those people who have drawn their line in the sand. And I don't know why you over here. You know what I'm saying? But those people I can tolerate. It's like what I was saying when I was talking about that scene from The Wire where he was like, yeah, I'll bury black people under one condition. I can do them all at one time. You know what I'm saying? I understood what you
know what it is.
Exactly. And it's those blurred gray line middle. I don't see color. What the fuck you mean you don't see color? You don't see this shit? like I don't know, like, but that'd be the stuff I don't see color. Everybody's the same. All right. Not true. You know what I'm saying? But when you read those kinds of statistics, right? When you look at the everyday life, when you look at examples that you just gave, like trying to get into the 4 or 5 selective enrollment high schools in this city that people want to go to, and there aren't any seats for black kids, right? All right, like it's ridiculous for real. And then you have somebody come out and say, well, it's not racist here in America, and then to have people back that up with what? Like, back that up how? You know what I'm saying? Like, just because you want to say that, just because on some emotional shit, well, here are the facts. The facts say that it fucking is happening, right? The facts say that either we are the most incapable, ignorant, violent people to ever walk the face of this planet, or y'all are fucking with us. There's no other, there ain't no in between here. And so for the president, the vice president, who's black-ish,
she's a dark-skinned Indian. I'm not with that blackish.
I'm speaking.
Esco, I didn't give you nearly enough credit for what you did during the, during
sexy music for the Celine photo.
Yeah, when she played the sexy music, but also she instantly cut to a Celine promo as soon as the picture went up. Like Job well done, Sko. Job well done. And then Sko turned off her lights first. I didn't even think to turn off the light until Sko turned off hers. And then I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. This is going to be fun. Anyhow, you just can't argue with data, man. You know what I'm saying? You can do a lot of things. And I know you talk about numbers and that you can manipulate the numbers. Show me an example where these numbers aren't true. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just in the numbers. It's not just in the extreme examples of the public lynchings, right? It is the everyday life that we got to deal with. And it's just like, what are we arguing about? Who's debating this? Who's refuting this? The fucking president and the vice president?
Who's acknowledging it, though? You don't got to refute it if nobody's acknowledging it. It doesn't even exist. What I got to refute? This ain't a real thing. Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
What you got to refute? It's not a conversation. It's not a conversation in our community.
Yeah.
It's not a conversation in the public sphere. It's not a conversation at all. It's not a conversation. When we have conversations about us, it's only in context of the response to the violence or the response to the trauma. Right? Again, we're going to get a military for the Barney Fife town to put these punitive measures on just 2% black population who's selling weed behind the goddamn local Hy-Vee. That's the only context of the conversation we're going to have, right? Because that's our representation, right? We're only going to have, I'm from 63rd, not 64th. We need more punitive measures, i.e. shot spotter.
Right.
I.e. 60% closing of murder rates or of crime, whatever she said the 60% stat was related to. But we're never getting to the why. And the reason we don't get to the why is because when you get to the why, you lift the veil of what America really is.
There's no disputing it.
There's no disputing it.
If you examine it, even surface level.
Yeah, even surface level. You can't get around it, bro.
Nah, it's obvious. It's apparent.
You can't get around it.
It's indisputable.
You know, you can't get around it. There's a reason why young black boys only think they could be an athlete or a rapper. There's a reason why.
For real.
Right? And if you're in a young black boy position, you got to accept that I would have moved like I was moving like that.
Well, why would you think you could do something else?
Why would you think you could do something else?
I ain't saying it.
And I don't see anybody in my community being successful with anything else.
Nah, that's
you a rapper or a ball player or your ass sell dope or drive a bus.
That's it.
That's it.
That's what we got.
That's what we got.
That's it.
That's your options.
That's where we at.
Right. And then when we have the real conversation, we're only represented 2% in the private sphere. So they ain't wrong.
Nah.
And when you get to them 2%, be clear, them was skewed numbers too. Because you start talking about dark-skinned Indians. You start talking about Africans. You're not talking about...
Nah, you ain't talking about 63rd Streets.
Yeah, you're not talking about Southern plantation workers' children.
Nah, you aren't.
You're not.
You are not.
So they really are legitimately right. They having a more honest conversation than the rest of us are.
That's what we're saying. Like they just understand it. You know what I'm saying? It's a real simple thing. I look around, I see something, and I don't see something, right?
I'm not represented there.
And that's it. Like that's it. That's why I'm have such an affinity for Scoop Jackson, right? He was the only person in my neighborhood who was doing some shit other than what everybody else was doing. I was like, I didn't even know him. It was just I would just walk past his house. Number one, okay? He had a house and he had a black Pathfinder that I liked. And he was always going to work when I was going to school. I ain't passed no other man that was on their fucking way to work. So I was like, this dude is doing. And then I was like, what do you do? Like, I write for magazines, slamming. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I was like, that's dope as hell. But he was the only person. And so I was like, we don't have that representation. So when these shorties, when you ask them what they want to be, how could they tell you what they ain't seen? You don't know what you don't know.
I had this conversation this weekend, man. Well, first, let me shout out to my niece, man. Shout out my niece, Asha Wright, man. Love you. I'm proud of you. She just announced the other day that she's been accepted to Tulane University and should be attending Tulane University for
congratulations,
the next 4 years.
Asha.
Asha's doing her thing, right?
That's what's up.
And I bring that up because Eric had a couple games this weekend. And there's a young boy playing with us from 95th Street, so I got a certain affinity for him just because he's from 95th Street, right? And he comes from a different kind of situation than most of the kids on our team. Now, in regards to like fully grasping and understanding having a full understanding of basketball, he ain't really got it.
Right.
But he got a hunger and the desire to be good. And oftentimes I see him outshining some of the players who have been playing ball for so ever just because he has a hunger, right? And I can appreciate that, right? And I think about it, and I was just thinking about it this weekend, and I was like, damn, man, I really like Shorty, right? But Shorty coming from some kind of traumatic situation.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody else on this team kind of has parents that's going to advocate
got a stable
for them.
house.
Stable
right.
house. They're going to get their kid to where their kid needs to be, whatever it is. You know, and basketball is kind of just a tool, right? And I thought about that, and I said, man, you know, if no one steps up to help this little man, I don't care what he won or how good he is at it. He going to lose.
Period.
Going back to Asha going to Tulane, like, that's a big deal. You know what I mean? But Asha comes from a stable household of parents who have some economic wherewithal, and they can make things happen. She went to near North. She stayed at the Montessori school that I took my son up out of. Right? Some complications with that, in my opinion. But I'm not raising Asha. You know what I mean? Went to, I can't think of the name of the high school that's up north that has like a regular woman's name, but it's really the school to be at in this city. Went to that school, and now she's going to Tulane. And Asha's life is going to be pretty much written for. It kind of just is, right? But Asha's experience, though she lives on 43rd and King Drive, is not the experience of a kid on 43rd and King Drive. You know what I mean? And I think about that often, like, she's going to come back and be representation of black power in some context.
Black leadership.
Black leadership in some context. And how does that resonate? Does that resonate in the Kamala Harris way? Or does that resonate in the Sada Shakur way? And the Sada Shakur way is on life support. And I think that's the necessary way for us going forward. I just think it is.
I certainly can't disagree, nor would I, my brother. Thank y'all so very, very much for tuning in to this Monday edition of I Said What I Said. We appreciate each and every one of you all. Again, Chicago Public Schools CEO Dr. Janice Jackson has announced her resignation. She will be stepping down in June. Brought you some of that press conference a little bit earlier. Talked to Dr. Darden for a little bit. Had a good conversation with him. And we had a little bit of fun with King Salim. Hope y'all enjoyed the episode. We'll be back here on Wednesday, same time, same place, for Sonia Escobar and Toussaint Werner. My name is Herb Howard. We'll see y'all Wednesday. Until then, y'all
Francis
be good
Parker,
to each
that's
other.
it too. Look at our audience being brilliant.
They always with it.
That's it. Francis Parker, I never remember that one.